I had a fairy tale childhood. The population was about 4,000 in this very small town in Wisconsin called Galesville. We came complete with a swinging bridge and a river that ran through it, and it was idyllic. And I grew up the second of 5 children. I am incredibly honored to say that my great-great-grandfather fought in the Civil War. My father is an amazing man, and he was a twice decorated veteran in World War II. My brother Stephen served in the military. My brother Ross served in the military. Blake is decorated in the Iraq War. My son was on the front lines. I have a family that I'm very proud of. We are incredibly lucky to live in this country. And my father, when he served in the military, he served in Luzon in the Philippines during World War II. And he was hunkered down in a foxhole there for weeks on end. Because the Philippines was third world, because my dad had that connection, I applied as a Rotary Exchange student for the sole purpose of figuring out how to get to the Philippine Islands. And I got there. They accepted me, and it was unbelievable. I left days after my senior year. When I got there, I was introduced to medicine. It was that experience that I knew I wanted to spend a life in service. And I started to work in an orphanage, which was out in the barrios, hinged on a big city. I found my life calling, and I came back to the United States, met the love of my life, got married, then went on to the University of Minnesota School of Medicine. You know, I spent a lot of time in working with people. My other passion in life is decorating and remodeling. One of my passions is to take down ceilings and put up new ceilings. You know, some people like cars, I like walls. During that time, raising my kids too, because I was in Minnesota, teaching them how to ice skate, how to swim. I bought horses at one point. I was too scared to ride, but I had to learn. I hear this clomp, clomp, clomp upstairs in my house, and it was one of the miniature horses that my granddaughter took up the stairs to the second floor to hide in the bedroom because it was miniature, and she just thought that horse should live inside. It took the fire department to get the horse back out because the horse would not come back down the steps. The other thing I did is that I have always taken people into my home, and so I was a foster parent for mentally handicapped adults. So while raising my children and trying to work through this business, I also had other people in the house. Then I started working with hardcore inner city kids who had fallen through the cracks. And these children were, or not all children, 15 to 23, 24 years old. These were hardcore, lost inner city people. The door was kind of always opened, and that's what I was doing. And then I decided I need to go to college. I need to add one more piece to this puzzle. So I took everything in as deep and as much as I could in medicine, and ended up being an honors student in college. And a couple of the professors came to me and said, you should think about medical school. And I did, and I got some good advice. And some of the good advice was, as a single parent in medical school, it's going to be an incredibly difficult uphill battle. By this time, I'd worked hard and gotten the pre-med after I had graduated, but I had to be serious at that point. I had children that needed to be supported. So what was I going to do? I had 2 options: go back in for RN training, which would have been just wonderful, or mortuary science training, and the easier path to secure a job at that time was a female in a male-dominated business, which was mortuary science. One of the things I truly love about serving the community is that you have the inside information on the community. There's a real intimacy, a real deep need that is really satisfied by knowing that somebody didn't suffer. But one year in Minneapolis, there were 87 homicides alone, and I was the night lead investigator at the time. I remember being introduced to all kinds of mayhem that I really didn't know existed. But I worked with great people. I've worked with I tried counting it up one time, probably 25 board-certified forensic pathologists and non-board certified pathologists, and they are great people. They are impassioned people. And we had some favorite times, you know. I did a lot of teaching and I had a lot of practical jokes. When I came to Douglas County, I came as the chief deputy, a role I knew backward and forward, upward and down, something that was very comfortable. And then the position for coroner was opened up, and I was encouraged to look at that position. The role is different though. It's vastly different. One of the biggest challenges I have in the coroner's office as the coroner is to be the coroner and not be the medical legal death investigator. And that's tough to transition from that intimate level to the 30,000 level. I wanted our medical legal death investigators to be really proud of what they brought to that medical aspect. We have high certifications in our office. At one point, given the small size of our staff, we had the most and the highest certifications as anyone in the state. For 3 years in a row, we have not asked for money, and for 3 years in a row, we've returned money to now about $250,000. We also are becoming accredited. We're working on a national accreditation system. We're very proud of that. I believe every human being has got tremendous value. I think when you're able to tell somebody else the value you see in them, that's what really makes life work. The servant's heart is about all of us. It's not just about your public elected officials. It's really about all of us. You just have to tell somebody sometimes how you see their servant's heart. All I can say is I can't drive by and not stop.